Welcome back. You're tuned into Bazaar Morning Call. Well, we've listed on all the top stocks being tracked. Let's get some more fundamental analysis going. We have Amnish Aggarwal, Director Institutional Research at PL Capital, who joins us on the show. Hi, Amnish. Thanks a lot for joining in. Well, let's talk about the auto stocks. There appears there is some kind of softening in stance from President Trump. That's why we're looking at a couple of companies like Sambadana Motherson as well as Sona BLW. Your view on the auto pack and the auto ancillaries? What's your topic from there?
Yeah, hi Nigel. So two things here. As far as your domestic scenario is concerned, I think even the recent FADA report talked about some lower growth numbers for FY26. So a lot will depend upon how the demand goes in the coming few quarters, and the domestic scenario doesn't look to be that great as of now. Now, as far as your stocks like Sona or Motherson are concerned, I think because there has been a realization that US will now give some more time for the auto component manufacturer, the auto OEM manufacturers now to start manufacturing more in US in the longer term. So there could be some sort of a relief which will come to companies like Motherson or Sona, because they are exporting to those countries, or for example, Motherson is having base in those countries and drives a lot of production over there. So to that extent, it is positive for these companies. And I think you could see some positive reaction coming on that front. But having said that, on the domestic side, things are it's more like a cash-22 situation as of now.
Okay, so that's on the auto space. Just to talk about some more names, where this tariff hit has been playing out. Now that we know that there is not a rollback, but at least some sort of a partial pause on electronics and semiconductors, Amnish, do you expect any kind of immediate reaction on names like Dixon and Surma? Some of these stocks last week, they ran up in anticipation that China won't be supplying anymore. So eventually Indian companies can come in and take that space. So the US is not a big market for them right now. How are you looking at some of these EMS players?
The main thing is when it comes to EMS also, first of all, what sort of technology level products we are manufacturing. So that is one. And secondly, whether we are having the capacity or the current where with the demand in the US. Now, on both these fronts, I think the Chinese manufacturer or the companies which are based out, say whether it is Vietnam or Taiwan, they are much ahead of us. And India has actually started investing in this only in the, I would say, the past few years. Now, given that we are not a very large manufacturer and the capacity is very limited, can they incrementally gain something? The answer is yes. Can they, you can say, replace the Chinese manufacturer or do something which is very much out of the world, or they can continue growing very fast? For that, I think the scale of the manufacturing that needs to be go up significantly over a period of time. So I think in the longer term, it will all depend upon where the tariffs actually settle. And it is not only for, I would say, India. It depends upon how the countries like particularly Vietnam, Taiwan, Thailand, China, etc. So how the tariffs and the bilateral negotiations there happen. Because if any of these countries which are having the bigger manufacturing bases, more economies of the scale, so if they are able to supply, or if they are able to get a better tariff deal, then we might not be having big advantage, and many of these companies then would end up again catering to the domestic demand only.
Anish, any thoughts here? The gold plays in that sense, on the lending side, and what's the jewelers for that matter? Anything you like?
You see, we cover Titan only in the jewelry space as a part of formal coverage. But having said that, what usually happens is that whenever the gold prices, they soften a little bit, then the demand for the jewelry or the gold coins, even that goes up. Now, there are two factors which we need to watch out for here in gold. One being that last year we had a very bad first half. That is, I'm not looking at, say, your FY25. I'm looking first half of FY26. Due to monsoons, very low wedding season and all that, we had a very, very bad half for all the companies. So to that extent, I think the numbers in 1Q and 2Q of FY26, they are likely to be far better than what we had seen last year. So that is one. Secondly, if the gold prices remain where they are, I think there is not likely to be, it's more like a left out feeling, but otherwise the gold has been moving up, which gives you the value growth, but the volume growth is unlikely to be very healthy. The third important factor is that many of the jewelry companies which are listed today, so many of them, they are having gold inventory in their books and they are not doing gold on lease, or you can say stuff like that. Now, for those companies, when the gold prices go up, you actually having the inventory gains on the books, which props up your margin. So all the companies which are having gold inventory in their books, I think they will be beneficiary of if the gold prices continue to move up. And the fourth thing is that if you look at the global uncertainty which has now emerged, due to that, the gold on lease charges which the banks, which the companies usually pay to banks for taking, you can say, gold on loan. So those charges have also shown a very sharp uptick in the last couple of months. I think it is, you can say, give, take, give here or take. There's some, you can say, some give and takes. But having said that, in terms of the pure numbers, in terms of the growth, I think the first half of FY26 should look far better on a YOY basis, and that will keep the interest alive in the jewelry companies. And I think Titan remains one of the, I would say, the best stocks in terms of, say, balance sheet, corporate governance, and even the recent quarterly numbers were good. And I think from here on, the stock can give you reasonable returns.
Sure, sure. Okay, so you continue to like Titan.